Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another tournament race for the Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament 2022. I'm Esmar, joined by Goron. How are you doing today, Goron?
I'm doing good. This is a tournament hard open between TwoC and Vortex of Doom. Vortex of Doom winning the first match between them. This is bracket stage. If Vortex wins another one, then, he will advance to round of 16. So everything on the line to play for. Definitely good to watch, and definitely good to co-com with you, Esma.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, the interesting thing is if 2C manages to take this set best of 3 back, he's going to get a rematch against GFE, who was the other person who advanced from the same group stage. So that's interesting. But Vortex has been a tough cookie for pretty much everybody. He has not lost a single match in this entire tournament, which is something that not many people can say. But both of these are very strong runners, as everybody in this tournament at this point is. And looking forward to see where we go going forward here.
Yes. Definitely. And just brilliant runners. Nice to see where they go. Nice to see what they can do. Tournament hard does give a little bit more intrigue to this in the sense that there are no mail upgrades. The sword is capped at tempered sword, and loads of other safeties are gone, like one bottle. So these runners will have to do their best strats to beat the bosses and finish the dungeons.
Yeah, I don't know too much about 2C's experience with NMG, but I know that Vortex has been on a very, very hard NMG grind. I mean, I like to say lately, but really just for a couple years now, and he's a very strong player in NMG, and this equipment loadout is going to be very similar, so he's going to be very comfortable. We do see Divergence right at the start, 2C picking up a map out of the Sanctuary, and Vortex getting 5 rupees from Link's house.
Yep. So it looks like 2C will be going to Kakariko Village, whilst Vortex is going to Front of Escape. We'll see which pays off. Kakariko is normally one of the densest checks in this game. However, you need bombs first. But, well, we're rich in bombs today because 3 pulls bombs and the guard droppers bombs.
Yeah, notably 2C does not go up to check Lumberjack and get those triples. He does pick up this one in the forest, however.
And that is the gloves on Uncle. So that might help with routing quite a lot. And the Cane of Burner, definitely good to pick up this early, as it's a damage item.
Ooh, looks like Vortex is thinking. I think he was thinking about going for the escape play there, but I think he decides better of it. Decides to just take those bombs and go straight to Kakariko, as is usually the plan with Uncle Start.
So nothing in the forest, but now Vortex can just go straight to the back of Escape, where there'll be 3 checks here.
Yeah, with that glove, Vortex is going to go straight to the back of Escape here, which is something 2C cannot do at present.
But yeah, we're just seeing there was a map check, so we'll see what are crystals and pendants. Nothing in back of Escape, though. And it looks as though it's a red crystal, Eastern Palace, and normal crystal, Desert Palace, and Tower of Hera.
Yeah, notable, we are listening to 2C's audio right now. He's using the Star Fox 64 MSU pack. Both runners are running legal MSUs, so if we ever switch to Vortex's audio, be prepared. He tends to like to use the default alarm for health there.
So, Fire Rod in Blind Hut, and the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, this is a very stacked early game. We're getting a lot of useful items, and really only one item that really opens up other checks in that glove so far, which honestly is kind of the place I like to be in these. If you get too many things, if you get the hammer, the glove, maybe 2 glove upgrades, stuff can open up really quickly and make sort of the thread a little tougher to follow. but if it feeds you breadcrumbs while still equipping you with what you're going to need later on, you're feeling really good about the direction the seed is taking.
And there's the lamp in Kakariko well. So even more items. Well, there's no worries about being fire-locked. That is the magic that would have been half magic, but in hard open, you don't get half magic.
Okay.
And those are the gloves for 2C, but technically the mitts,
Yeah,
because
so
we already know gloves are in the Hyrule Castle well.
yeah, so that sort of opens up some really interesting things. 'Cause we have gloves, we have mitts, and we have the Moon Pearl already for Vortex. So Vortex has the option of going straight to Village of Outcasts here and skipping South Shore until later, which might make a little bit of sense depending on what he's feeling. But it is a rare route to see because you usually obviously don't have the opportunity for it.
Chat was asking what was tournament hard open. I mean, as far as I know, it's a seed that it's a normal open seed, but it's hard, meaning that basically you have only 3 swords, no male upgrade, no half magic, no progressive bow, so the bow and the silvers are different, and only 1 bottle, so the plays can be a lot harder throughout this mode, basically.
Yeah, the early game doesn't change much, but by the time you get to late game, if you're used to playing regular open seeds, you'll find yourself a lot less equipped.
Oh, 2C nearly saved and quit. Had that finger on his button on his controller, but just saw the flippers there. So flippers on race game.
Yeah, and it's very common to check that item first. Sometimes if I'm feeling frisky or if I get a really dry Kakariko, I'll just go and blind check it. But yeah, we're probably going to see both runners prepare to save and quit there. At this stage, I don't think either of them are going to accidentally save and quit away from it. It does happen, but not with runners of this caliber.
So here's some...
Ooh, and Vortex is not checking that right away here.
Yes. So because of that early divergence, Vortex is able to go into the Dark World, which means that there's more divergence available. 2C is checking the back of Escape now, but it's when will 2C check Hyrule Castle well?
I mean, the answer to that is eventually. We do see Green Pendant in Thieves Town, other pendants in Ice Palace and Swamp, and our red crystal in the Dark World is on Turtle Rock.
Yep. So we'll see if there are, because chat was saying it, some Ice Palace plays considering it's a pendant. And nothing in Sea House.
And Thieves Town Green is an interesting one because you often it's one of the sort of easiest green pendants to pick up if it's not in a Light World dungeon. But at the same time, we don't have Hammer. We're probably going to see Vortex just check the front here.
Yeah, so Vortex is checking Thieves Town, whilst 2C is checking the dam. And we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, ordinarily, looking at, since we now have all of our information, we do find the red cane there in Thieves Town, which is a really big item.
Red cane, second chest in Thieves Town. It helps a lot early, well, relatively early game. It helps with regards to Pod, and it helps with regards to Skull Woods. And it's necessary for Misery Mine and Turtle Rock, so definitely feels good to have. Also Icebreaker, although Ice Palace is a pendant, and that's Quake. And I believe this has to be the big key then.
It does. Yeah, you know, and trying to fill some space here with some speculation about the future of the seed, but seed's just coming up big at all the wrong times for me, all the right times for these runners though. We see 2C heading towards Mini Moldorm Cave here. This is one of the early dense item checks that you can get to.
Yep, and Vortex is now checking the brewery. So let's see if there's anything in either of them. Nothing in brewery. And okay, can we rename Mini Moldorm Cave to Mini Heart Cave?
Now, well, he did say 300 more rupees there, which does put 2C in range of Zora money, which is a fully unlogic check at this point.
So, 2C checking Hylia Island, another 300 rupees. Vortex is going to be doing the archery game for some more rupees, which is going to be good, and we'll see. There should be Zora, Waterfall, a lot of checks in logic for 2C, which sadly will take him away from the Hyrule Castle well.
Ooh, second medallion. That's Ether under the bridge.
Yeah, Ether, we do not know what Misery Mine and Turtle Rock needs, so for all we know, that Ether might be necessary.
And the last one we're missing is Bombos, which is usually in question due to Ice Palace. It has some implications there, but it's a pendant, and we have the Fire Rod already, so... You know, this is not a medallion worry seed. It's still possible for the medallion to come into play, but...
Yeah, so... Looks as though it was just money on Dick Game. Vortex is now going to do Smith Chain. We'll see if Vortex eventually, as Vortex will need to go into Light World to end the Smith Chain, whether he'll go to Race Game after the first part of Smith Chain.
Yeah, it is worth noting that the flippers are required logically for Ice Palace and completely for Swamp Palace, both of which are pendants here. We do see our first sword on Stumpy, though, which is a nice thing for Vortex to have, because 2C is still operating without one of those. But as I was saying, the lack of flippers actually might not play a very big role here in this seed. Given that we have 2 pendant dungeons that require them. Not much in Waterfall Cave for 2C.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of puns and I was sidetracked. Oh yeah, Vortex is in Hype Cave, and that's our one battle this seed.
And 4 of them are placed. Only one of them can be picked up, and that's the one Vortex gets.
I was thinking maybe use the boots to get through.
Use the boots to get through. That's a good one.
Yeah. So I am hoping for the boots soon. 2C coming up to Zora, whilst Vortex is going to look at that race game, most likely. Oh!
Hook shot on Zora.
That's the hook shot. That's big.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is the route that I kind of expected from Vortex here. You know, you carry the Smith all the way down south through Hype Cave, and then you wrap around and go back up through the south into Kakariko to check this check that you skipped earlier. And so now he's finding the flippers. So yeah, no big loss there.
Yeah, so to clarify on hookshot, because I was thinking in general, yes, we don't need the hookshot for Swamp Palace, but you've got hookshot Cave. You've got the possibility that this seed, Misery Maya, is locked behind hookshot and not the boots. So there are a few ways that the hookshot is useful. It also gives a lot more mobility to our players.
Yeah, and notably, in a more immediate sense, it does put the right side of Death Mountain in logic.
Yes.
Yeah, 2C also picks up the shovel from Sahasrarla's closet there, which, yeah, if it hadn't been for where that is, Vortex would have had a really clean sweep of this area, but now he might have to consider going back to Grove for that item in particular, but we will see how it plays out. We have a lot of early divergence just due to Vortex checking Uncle at the start, 2C not, and being one glove ahead.
So 2C... Is 2C going up the mountain? I'm not sure. Because I know there's this, Aga tree check first. But we'll see if he goes to mountain beforehand. And that looks like a shield.
Yeah. That's one of 3 shields placed, but only the first one counts as per the hard item pool. But this is one of those things with if you skip Uncle early on and the seed starts paying out with things, it can often take you a little while to get back to that check again, because you're going to be following all of the other sort of branches first before you sort of run out of things to do and then decide, okay, now it's time to go do Uncle in front of Escape. And 2C is probably going to want a little bit more in terms of items before he decides to really commit to that, at least to the exclusion of sort of cleaning everything else out. So here he's going to the mountain play, gets 10 arrows from the old man, and continues eastward, sorry. I always basically flip a coin whenever I have to use east and west. I know the difference, but when I'm talking, yeah. I don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, I do get that. Nothing off of Sick Kid and Old Man, and we're going to check Spec Rock soon, so we'll just see what's here. Just a piece of heart, Spec Rock Cave.
And get used to seeing as Vortex sees a piece of heart in the chicken hut there. Get used to seeing the hearts. There's a reason that there's a reason people call this open heart surgery, because it's there are a lot of pieces of heart in this mode. A lot of the rupee drops were taken out, replaced with an extra several pieces of heart. There are 48 total, so you see them a lot.
So 2C about to give us our Paradox Cave checks, whilst Vortex of Doom is doing Skull Woods.
Yeah, with that sword, Skull Woods is now fully in logic. Fire Rod and sword is all you technically need. As we find our last missing medallion in a Paradox Cave over on 2C's side.
Yeah. So, no worries about medallions tonight.
Now, Vortex is very good at a lot of these boss fights, though Skull Woods is one where you normally will have the Tempered Sword for in an FP category. So doing this with Fighter Sword is not going to be as muscle memory as this sometimes is for him. Meanwhile, 2C finds his bottle in the 5-chest room in Paradox Cave.
So, Vortex moving the statue and then using the Cane of Samaria in order to flick the switch, and positions himself to get dead-handed.
Yeah, and all of this is pretty standard. It's pretty common to have the Cane of Samaria here in Rando, so it's really when you get to that boss here that we're gonna have to see how well he copes with only having that Fighter Sword. He's a good player. But again, like I said, it's a lot of the bosses when he has the Tempered Sword are going to be straight muscle memory because of all that NMG grinding he does. But this is a little more, you have to grind out all of your seeds to get all of the different scenarios, which is one of the things we all love about Rando.
So, Bo in Spiral Cave.
Yeah, the mountain play actually finally paying off. Final check. It pays out with something that's you're like, okay, yes, that was a good play, going to the mountain, and it was. So 2C is now set to go over to Eastern. So this is some pretty wild divergence 15 minutes in here.
Yeah, and to clarify, silvers are their own separate thing. It is not progressive. That's the only spot that either of our runners can get Bo tonight.
Yeah, and as would be predicted, 2C heads straight over to Eastern Palace. No reason not to. You could, I suppose, hope to combine it with Palace of Darkness if you get the mirror, but at this point, you may as well do it. Get out of the way. You don't save that much time by doing them together if you put it off, so... yeah, Vortex taking a death there. Not sure if it was intentional to reset, But certainly he would have preferred to continue all the way. There's no real reason you'd want to die there for strategic purposes. But he's given it another shot. As 2C finds, ooh, big key in the first chest of Eastern. That's a nice start.
Yes, it definitely is. The thing is, with regards to this, is if Vortex is able to go mode Eastern Palace, that big key will be very useful. So it's a double-edged sword here.
Yeah, I would say Eastern Palace is it's a pretty uncommon to run into a scenario where you can go mode that dungeon, just because of how few items are needed to clear it versus when it's actually a good idea to skip that last chest. But as you say, this is the setup where you can do that. So Vortex here on Fighter Sword Moth saves as much of that fire rod as possible. He's going to prefer taking damage to the spikes here. I believe his contact damage with Moth, yeah, it does 2 hearts on green mail, but he takes care of it handily enough.
Yeah. Vortex having a good fight against Mothula and gets his first crystal at 19 minutes.
Yeah, 2C not too far behind, though, on almost as far... Yeah, I would say this is probably the furthest dungeon geographically from Skull Woods that you could find.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that. This or Ice Palace.
You know, as far as I know, there's no official metric for the height of Death Mountain, so maybe Turtle Rock is further away, but...
Yep, so 2C is going to check the big key chest in Eastern Palace, whilst Vortex... I don't think Vortex has checked the whole of the front, so...
Yeah, I think he went straight back. And also, it's worth noting that with 6 hearts green mail fighter sword, Mothula is very non-trivial. So that's being able to confidently go for that just speaks to the caliber of these runners. This is something that even your average pretty good player is going to struggle with. They're going to struggle with that fight. Might even die a couple times. And being able to confidently first try it like that is impressive.
So yeah, Vortex going out of Skullwoods. We'll see where he goes now, and 2C about to finish off Eastern Palace. The difference between Skullwoods and Eastern Palace being that Eastern Palace is a red crystal, so if 2C was somehow able to get up to Turtle Rock, get the other red crystal, that's Pyramid Fairy in logic.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, Turtle Rock isn't that far from being completable. We do have mitts. We will need the hammer in order to get inside, but we have seen all of the medallions. So the only thing really missing is hammer and ice rod, and Turtle Rock is technically fully completable. 2C picks up that first crystal. Not much else of particular value out of Eastern Palace, but that's value enough for us.
I mean, the only things I could think of, though, for this possible situation to appear would be either Flute or Mirror in Pyramid Fairy, or thought to be on Pyramid Fairy, because most stuff is needed for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, is there anything in particular that we need the mirror for? Swamp Palace is a pendant.
I'm saying, well, Mirror or Book, because that's
because we need mirror or book to get to desert. But this technically could be a mirrorless seed.
And Dig Spot not paying out. Well, it pays out with 20 rupees, but that's not the payout our runners want.
Yeah, you can get 20 rupees from digging in Dig Game. It's not that impressive. So Vortex is going here. He's combining the purple chest with South Shore. I'm interested to see if he is going over to Desert here. Yes, he is. So he's still putting off Mini Moldorm and presumably the Flippers checks, and he's going to get to that hook shot eventually. But I think this works out very well for Vortex in that he's getting the hook shot quite a bit later, sure, but in a phase of the game where the lack of the hook shot does not matter to him too terribly much.
Okay, so 2C, yeah, 2C's about to get those mitts now, and nothing in the Gina's cave.
Yeah, and the 2C getting the mitts here isn't too terrible either. 2C's managed, both of them have managed to clear one dungeon before picking up the major item that the other one got before them. However, Vortex having picked up that glove early on does mean that sort of, again, the early divergence, both runners are on very different tracks so far here.
Yes.
Ooh, this is actually interesting. Vortex looks like he's making the mountain play before checking Zora, which means that he's pretty much guaranteed he's going to have another mountain climb here, because he's only going to be able to get to the western half of Death Mountain without that hook shot.
Vortex is on low money, though, is picking up those red 20s from the bush crab. I know it's hinting to me, but it hints to me that Vortex is actually thinking about Zora. But sadly, we don't have access to our runner's thoughts at the moment.
Yeah, I think the fact that I don't know if he knew already that the bush crab was the 20 rupees. That might, if he did, that would play into the decision to go up here. You can go up there, check Lumberjack Cave, and farm the bush crabs twice. Now you're up at Zora money, but you don't want to just commit to collecting rupees and then just going to Zora. Not when you've got 2 checks up here, either of which could be hammer or hookshot as far as you're concerned, or mirror, all of which would give you access to some other stuff. We do find the silvers and the hammer in Super Bunny Cave over on 2C's side. So that's actually, having that hammer is a pretty big leg up for 2C, because Vortex is going to have to climb back up the mountain here after getting the hook shot in order to get those 2 items.
Exactly. That's big.
The upshot, though, is Vortex is going to be able to do it along with the clear of the Light World Death Mountain. So this is already 2C's second mountain climb. And there's another one of those 3 shields that's placed. And 2C's first sword there.
That sword definitely being useful for both our runners. Vortex did save and quit. So we'll see where Vortex goes now.
Yeah, Vortex had to save and quit there. There was nothing else on the mountain for him. So it is an extra climb, but it is a relatively short one, only doing that left side. So 2C is about to check Hype Cave, and I would imagine circle south into Village of Outcasts, and is thus going to pick up the second sword for him over on Stumpy.
Yeah, so basically both our runners doing checks that the other did before. At this point, I mean, both our runners are putting on a show for all of us here, and I just hope you enjoy everything that they're doing, because it's definitely fun watching this, commentating this, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them, so make sure to give them a follow.
And huge shout outs to the not displayed on screen members of the crew. We've got Nervendorch on tracking, and the restream, I believe, is Made Walk Heard. So shout outs to them as well.
Yes, shout outs to them as well. Definitely.
So 2C heading over to the right side here instead of circling around to the west towards Village of Outcasts. So not picking up that second sword, as Vortex is finally getting to the Flippers checks and is going to be picking up that hookshot soonish. Oh, restreamer is Feasel. Never mind. It used to be that I could check who's in the Discord server that we do the restreams on, but things have gotten a bit more sophisticated since then, and I'm never sure who's holding down the fort there. So yeah, shout outs there.
Yes, thank you, chat.
Yeah, see, setup and restreamer used to be the same job, so yeah, we definitely have expanded since I first started doing this, which is always fun to see. 2C making his way over towards Palace of Darkness.
And Vortex, is it Zora? Is it Zora? It's Zora. Good. Because it could have been Ice Palace for Vortex, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance he was doing Ice Palace without Hammer. It's just like, it doesn't make enough sense. Because you can't I mean, you can't complete it, which it is a pendant, so that's not the biggest thing, but you have the money now, you go do Zora. You clean it up. It's an early check. It was in Logic very early on.
Talking about enough expenditure of our runners, 2C has opened up Palace of Darkness, has paid the 110 Kiki fine, and can pass through to Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, curious to see where Vortex goes after this, because there's not that much that's still on the table there, other than that second mountain climb, which, having just done that first one, I don't know if he has any reason to really try doing anything else. Because he can't do Eastern like 2C did, because no bow, so no real reason to go there. Palace of Darkness, again, no reason to really dive there without the bow. But it's a possibility. But yeah, we do see Mountain immediately, so he's going to be bundling the Light World and Dark World Death Mountain together. So picking up the bow, the hammer, another sword, and maybe one other thing.
Silvers?
Silvers,
Sorry,
that was the last thing
everything.
I was thinking of. Yeah, Silvers and Hammer were together in Super Bunny Cave. I don't
also
recall.
Bombos.
Where was Bombos? Was that on Light World Death Mountain?
That's Paradox
It was
Cave.
yeah, Lower Paradox or Upper Paradox, depending on how you look at it.
It's, well, it's lower. It's just coming up right now.
Yeah, interesting to think about. If this were a spoiler seed and you knew in advance that the hammer was in Dark Death Mountain, I wonder if it would make sense to go and get that first, and then go up and perhaps open up Turtle Rock on the first trip up. Obviously, you don't know that the hammer's in Dark Death Mountain. You don't have the mirror to go back, so yeah, we'll see. We didn't see... Yeah, since we didn't have the mirror and couldn't get back from Dark World, we didn't see 2C go over to Tower of Hera.
Yes. I mean, Hammer being in Dark World, though.
Yeah. Makes Tower of Hera a little bit of a... It makes me wonder if you put that off and hopefully do it at the end with Turtle Rock, maybe, but...
There are only 2 items in Tower of Hera, and we all know where one of them very well may be, which is in, well, the first floor, i.e. the basement. So I can understand our runners choosing not to do Tower of Hera if it takes an extra minute or 2 to do so.
Yeah, and especially in Vortex's case, it's going to make a lot more sense to do... Spiral Cave here, and jump down. Currently can't make it to Tower of Hera without that hammer. Going to be going over to Dark World after this, which is feels good. It's a nice, efficient routing. 2C knocking the helmet off of Helmasaur in the meantime, and a single silver arrow to the dome will do the job.
And that's why silver arrows are overpowered.
In fairness, you know, you're not supposed to have them for that fight.
True.
Interesting that it still is a one-hit kill, despite it, because the damage tables aren't... It's not just straight damage that it does and health. Like, there's damage tables for each weapon against each enemy, pretty much. So it's kind of interesting to see some of these interactions having weirdly unique coding in the game, even though they're technically not possible. But
that's 2C's second crystal. So 2C might be pulling ahead a little bit. I'm just trying to think the routing that Vortex has done that 2C hasn't really.
yeah,
Smith
2C
chain,
hasn't made
maybe?
it to Skull Woods, notably, or the Village of Outcasts at all. So it hasn't done that side of Dark World at all.
So yeah, 2C has to get that Cane of Samaria from Thieves Town. And Vortex about to get that second sword. So Vortex going to the west. This is probably a Spike Cave play.
Yeah, I mean, if you're skipping Hera, you may as well, and if you're popping up on top, you may as well take the trip, go over this way, and at least do a run on Spike Cave. Don't orphan that one up here.
And still nothing yet in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, coming up uncharacteristically dry.
And Spike Cave just has 3 bombs.
3 bombs and the peace of mind that you don't have to come back up there for that particular check.
Whilst we don't get pieces of mind in this game, 2C picking up a piece of heart from the dark room next to the big chest. And 2C saving and quitting. Vortex looks as though he's going to be doing Eastern Palace now.
Yeah, and he does get to combine this with Sahasrarla's checks here, which 2C sort of did a double dip for, so a little bit more efficient in this area for Vortex. 2C, though, on the prowl for more. Probably going to go up, check Turtle Rock Medallion, probably pop it open, and then go do Tower of Hera.
Yes, so if anything big is in Tower of Hera, this could be very big for 2C. What we're looking for, I mean...
Oh yeah, he's not going to do that in that order because there's no mirror. My bad. He's probably going to do it in the other order.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, if something's in Tower of Hera, this is big.
Yeah, it is a long walk just to go to Tower of Hera. But it's either you gamble on going here, clean it up, and then you can sort of choose if you want to go and check the medallion on Turtle Rock, or do Spike Cave and get that check out of the way, because 2C also has Spike Cave fully in logic.
And the first item is just 20 rupees. So here's the hope that the second item is not in the basement. What is in the map chest? It is a key. Oh no. This means that the big key should be in the basement chest, but 2C is able to bypass this using a Hera pot.
Yeah, so what you do here, if the big key is in the basement, you can Hera pot. That only really burns you if the big key is the other item. If the big chest is the other item. If it's in, for instance, that chest, then you save yourself a long wait in the basement.
So
yeah, there's the danger that it does burn you, but I think 2 times out of 3, you'll get away with it.
So nothing in Tower of Hera. 2C is going to be defeating Moldorm and getting out of here.
Yeah, I think a lot of this Hera play is predicated on the fact that if you put Hera off, you're kind of hoping that you do run into the mirror, which an astute player at this point in the seed would notice is not an inevitability. Mirror could easily be in Ganon's tower in this seed. So you don't count on it. You got to do it at some point. May as well pick up a third crystal. Vortex still on 1. approaching his second.
Yep, so 2C, that's his third crystal.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, he's going to clear out this side of the mountain, at least until Book shows up, and get Spike Cave. And it's actually going to work out pretty nicely because it's going to fill up his bomb counter perfectly. He's going to have 10 afterwards. Not something he's worried about, but you know.
You never know.
I find this game is a lot more fun if you try to find the value in all checks, no matter how useless.
Yeah, you never know how important those 3 bombs really were.
Yeah, Vortex setting up for the standard arrow quick kill on Armos before remembering that he picked up the silvers.
So, well, for Vortex, would this be a pop play then? Most logically, 2C is.
I would
going
imagine
checking.
so. Yeah, 2C finally getting to Village of Outcast area is probably going to do Skull Woods straight off the bat here.
Yeah. And 2C will eventually get his Master Sword on Stumpy. That is where the second sword that Vortex has and 2C doesn't is at the moment. We don't know where the third sword is or the possibility of the fourth sword, even though in this mode it's capped at Tempered Sword.
So after Vortex does pod here, Vortex is going to be up at 3 crystals, same as 2C. Although by that point, 2C is most likely going to have his 4th. But where do you take this afterwards? We're sort of at the point where we kind of have to start thinking about either checking some out-of-the-way stuff, maybe doing Hyrule Castle, or diving into some pendant dungeons.
I'm going to say a very reckless possibility. It's got to be Turtle Rock, right? You've got, what, about 5 items in there? And Vortex has all medallions. 2C has 2/3 of them. You could open it up and just see if there's something in there. Again, a very reckless one. Probably better to go for out-of-the-way checks, but I'm looking at that Turtle Rock and thinking,
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
got to be something in there.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I see, the danger is that you don't find Ice Rod in there and you have to do it again because there's so many other places Ice Rod could be. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that we do still need that we would like to see that could very easily be in Turtle Rock. And the longer a seed goes on with you having access to all but Trinex in Turtle Rock, the chances of it being one of those seeds where you've got to pick something up in Turtle Rock continue to increase. Most notably, Flute. Flute is one of those items that has a tendency to show up in there.
Swamp, chat was saying that Ice Rod is left side Swamp. Swamp is not available until we get that mirror, though, so... I mean, to go on with my with my predictions, if a mirror was in Turtle Rock, that could lead to the Ice Rod in left side Swamp. 2C is checking is checking Mothula. I don't think
He's
this
just
is
taking a
check.
peek. Just taking a peek.
Yeah, just a peek. But defeats Mothula, and that is his 4th crystal.
So again, Vortex doing the same routing through pod that 2C did. You do clear out the first, go straight to the boss, and then check the back. So 2C probably going to do the front of Skullwoods here. And then head into Village of Outcasts. And then we're going to sort of be straight up between these two runners for the most part on what they've accomplished. And so they're both going to have to start looking at new things. I doubt Vortex is going to be looking too hard on Tower of Hera, which is sort of the one remaining bit that's different between these two.
So yeah, they've done a lot of the same checks that the other's done. 2C hasn't done Village of Outcasts. Vortex hasn't done Tower of Hera. So we'll see what they both do. I mean, Ice Palace is still a play.
Yeah, I would expect that we see the front of Escape before Diving Pendant Dungeons, but we might see Turtle Rock before front of Escape. I would say Turtle Rock before front of Escape is a lot more valid of a play than, say, Ice Palace before front of Escape.
And there's also the back of Thievestown, although I believe we saw definitely 2, maybe even 3 items in Thievestown, and there's only 4 items there, so...
Yeah, there's not a lot in the back. There's at least 1 item in the back, maybe 2, but I think it's just 1, because we saw... I know we saw 2 items in the front, for sure.
Yeah.
But going to the back is more of an option for 2C, because that hammer is in hand. However, if it is 3 items in front, I would expect we see 2C skip it. Because the other thing, you could get the green pendant off of blind, but having already done Eastern and Pod, that's not quite as juicy, because it's basically just kind of duping yourself into another trip out there. So you're sort of locking yourself into a full dungeon clear, full pendant clear, and walk over to Eastern to turn in the green pendant, which is thorough, but not very efficient, so it's not super tasty.
2C has not entered Thievestown yet. He's just checking around Village of Outcasts. Is this it? This looks as though hammer pegs.
Yeah, really looking to avoid... Because I think at this point you sort of have full clearing Thievestown on your mind, that you'll full clear it if you have to, so you sort of want to make sure you give yourself the best chance of not full clearing it. Maybe find an item somewhere else that's going to give you some other options. This is also our first peek at hammer pegs here. Just 50 rupees.
So, Vortex going to be bomb jumping onto the big chest in Palace of Darkness. And is going down to dig game first, which is standard play before.
He might be skipping Thievestown entirely. I would kind of doubt it, but it's possible.
And 2C saying no to money this time.
I mean, don't need it anymore. Dig game was the last thing that requires a significant investment, unless you count the red bomb, in which case, you know, you'll have the money by the time you get there.
And Vortex about to finish up the Palace of Darkness checks. So we'll see where Vortex goes from here. And that is 2C's second sword.
He skips Thievestown. He leaves it. He might go back. He might do Thievestown and then do Purple Chest to finish off the Smith Chain. But he doesn't even dip into Thievestown this first time through Village of Outcasts.
And it looks as though Vortex is doing the Ice Palace play. 3 items in Ice Palace, and the possibility of, well, if something's unpaired and you complete Ice Palace, then it's 1 out of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention You maybe want to do front of escape before any you start diving pendant dungeons. I think the exception here would be having Ice Palace with the Cane of Samaria, with the hook shot, with the hammer, with the fire rod. You can really easily clear out a quick 3 items with a good layout in this dungeon a lot faster than you can get them out of front of escape. So this is actually a pretty good play from Vortex here.
And Vortex will be able to use Icebreaker to make Ice Palace a lot quicker because he does have that Cane of Samaria, so yeah.
Yep, he doesn't go turn around and flip the switch because he's planning on full clearing this dungeon.
First item, just 100 rupees. TwoC is definitely going back into Dark World. And this can only mean one thing. Well, it could be Purple Chest, but
yeah, I think he'd do Thieves Town first and then do Purple Chest. But he wanted to do as much as possible before Thieves Town, sort of to give himself the most information on whether or not he wants to commit to full clearing the whole thing. If I had to guess, which I do because I don't know. Okay, so we did see the compass in front, so there's 2 items in back.
So with Green Pendant, that's 3 possible items. It's a coin flip, really. TwoC getting that Cane of Samaria. Vortex going into Ice Tea. That being just the map. Still 2 items here.
He doesn't do the back. He decided that cane was enough for him.
Ooh, with that cane and all 3 medallions, this is a Turtle Rock play.
Yep. And it's a play that makes a decent amount of sense.
Second item, just 20 rupees in Ice Palace.
Yeah, there's a fairly decent chance that either the Ice Rod for the TR clear or another necessary item, such as the flute, is up in Turtle Rock.
I think an interesting thing would be, what if the Ice Rod isn't locked behind TR, but TR has something that is progression? So
yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah. What is the medallion for TR? It doesn't matter, but I do want to know. And it is Bombos. Vortex is clearing out all the cold stairs, which should be for the 3rd item in Ice Palace.
It's playing it risky there. Any touch there would have demolished him. Had to be very careful to only take damage from the ice blocks at that point, because touch from cold stare would have killed. But he finishes it off, gets that red pendant.
Yes. Sadly, nothing really in Ice Palace for Vortex. So we'll see where he goes now. Oh, that is big. The Ice Rod it's
pretty good. It's pretty good. Not gonna lie. And again, Vortex goes straight up the mountain after doing Ice Palace. Ice Palace was kind of the probably a quicker clear, and it gets you insurance in case of a Ped Seed. But you really only want to do one thing in Vortex's position before you head up to TR, because there's a lot of items up there. You can get to most of them. One of them might be the Ice Rod, as we found out it is. So Vortex is lagging behind a little bit here now.
Definitely.
At least until this becomes a flute hunt.
The one thing that might still be on our runners' minds, though, is without the mirror, what's in Mimic Cave?
Yeah, we cannot get that. Vortex is going to, I think, do... Yeah, obviously you do Hera first in this situation because you do not have the mirror.
The question for Vortex is, well, will Vortex do the basement or not? Because
No.
logically, the basement is required.
He's not going to do it. I would put money that he decides to Hera pot here. Especially after having done Ice Palace for no real gain. You don't feel like you have the time to spare to do basement just to be safe.
And yeah, in that point, Vortex would probably be right there.
Ah, the arrows! The arrow screwed it up.
Yeah, the good news with all of this for Vortex is that nothing is in the basement. There's just 2 lots of 20 rupees in Tower of Hera. TwoC coming up towards Lava Chest, which is the map.
Yeah, 2C making progress here. If Flute is later in TR here, that's pretty good news for 2C.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically Vortex is a little bit behind. If progression is here, more progression is here in Turtle Rock, this would be big for 2C because 2C will just be able to go mode Desert Palace and Misery Maya.
Yeah, I think the only 2 items that we're missing here, we need the flute and perhaps the boots.
Well, we need book or mirror.
Right, a book or mirror, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if it's flute and book or flute and mirror, it's go mode. Because, well, both 2C and Vortex need to do Misery Maya and Desert Palace. Those are the only crystals that are locked.
And Turtle Rock being the eternal tease it is, makes us wait until the very end of the dungeon for a lot of the items here.
Yeah. To clarify, both our runners did get all the items that they possibly could in Tower of Hera. There are no items left there. They did not leave anything.
So if the flute shows up on Laser Bridge, that's really, really good news for 2C. If it doesn't, 2C still is going to be enjoying a lead until it becomes a good idea to dip Ice Palace the way the Vortex did.
Yeah. Basically, 2C is an Ice Palace ahead of Vortex of Doom at the moment.
Nice use of that hook shot there to get some extra iframes. Mushroom, that's a pause champ. Pause champ mushroom there.
So, yes, 2C is about to make his way to face off against Trinex. And, yeah. So, chat pointing out that fake powder is possible as well with respect to the mushrooms. So, we'll see what the runners do after this. It depends whether there is something on Trinex. I have not been counting the items, so I don't know. Do you know, Esma?
No, I haven't been counting either. That's one of those things where you usually don't get used to doing as you're playing. Though you probably should, just so that if you know if you can afford to quit on Laser Bridge early. But a lot of the time, by the time you're going to Turtle Rock, you're just you're in go mode anyway. So a lot of the time it doesn't come up, but we'll find out.
Just
It
20
was indeed
rupees.
another item.
Yeah. And that is 2C's 5th crystal. So Vortex slightly behind, but good news if we want to race. Where is that flute? And where is that book/mirror?
Now, I don't recall when we saw 2C go to Palace of Darkness upon entry to the Dark World. Did we see a pyramid check or not?
I believe I have seen the pyramid and there was nothing on it.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too.
Nothing on Spike Cave. So 2C going in the the Swamp Palace portal to the Dark World. Catfish? I'm just trying to think what's left.
Yeah, we haven't seen Catfish. We haven't
Big
seen...
Bomb.
Yeah, we have the Big Bomb here. And, yeah, no Swamp Palace dip. And then in front of Escape. Back at Thieves Town, still up in the air.
This is most likely not going to be Divergence because most likely I could see Vortex doing Pyramid Fairy after all of this. So, but if it is something good, that just solidifies the lead for 2C.
Ooh, 2C picking up the bomb again. That's a second lost.
You say that and there'll be a second difference between the runners. 3 bombs and the cape. And a free bottle refill.
I don't recall if we saw a pyramid or a bumper ledge check. I feel like we did, but we didn't pay too much attention to it.
We did. If it was something, I would have remembered it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I was like, I remember being in that area. I can't imagine we would have been there and not checked it. So probably nothing important.
And this is 2C going up with regards to Catfish. Whilst it's unlikely, if Vortex does finish off Trinex and does checks that are different to what 2C are doing, it will be close to neck and neck.
Yeah, I can't imagine Vortex does... I mean, I could imagine Vortex doing something other than Pyramid Fairy, but it does make a whole lot of sense since I don't think he's checked the pyramid itself either.
No, Vortex hasn't checked the pyramid itself.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine wanting to not do this right after getting the 5-6 crystal, because you spent a lot of time in Ice Palace for no reason. So you kind of want the next thing to be your immediate goal. So far, nothing for 2C doing it.
Yes, so 2C going south. Just trying to think where again.
Desert, most likely. Or no, never mind. He's going Mushroom Turn-In. Right.
Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah.
And he did just save and quit, so we'll see if he decides to scum it. If the item inside is garbage, I imagine we'll see another a hard reset.
So this is technically still within the remit of Turtle Rock because 2C did get this in Turtle Rock. So yeah, it's interesting to see what this will be. Just 3 bombs. 2C getting that magic potion, though.
He is not save scumming that mushroom, so not putting too much value on Magic Bat, which can be gotten at this point out of logic with the fake powder glitch. But only if you still have the mushroom, which 2C no longer does.
So Vortex is now on his 5th crystal.
Yeah, and this is the danger I was talking about, because since Turtle Rock didn't directly lead into the next logical step, 2C is going to run into the same spot that Vortex was at earlier, where Ice Palace makes a lot of sense.
It's neck and neck.
Yeah, it's the quickest set of checks here. So 2C is going to be giving a little bit of that lead away, and potentially all of it. We'll see where we stand after 2C finishes this dive.
Yes, because Vortex will probably do Pyramid Fairy and Catfish, which should be slightly less than this. I'm just calling it. It's gonna be neck and neck now. Chat asking, could it still be a ped seed? I can imagine it could be. In the case that what would be on ped... Let me just think. Can it be?
We would need the mirror to show up. If the mirror
Yes.
isn't behind the flute, then absolutely it can be a ped seed.
Yeah, that... I was trying to get it the right way around. I was thinking yes, and then I was like, wait, what's my working? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It could also be boots on ped for a ped seed if it's required for desert. But the two items that we need are that we absolutely... Well, the one item we absolutely need is the flute. We may or may not need the boots, and we need one of mirror or book.
The thing with book being on ped is that if book is on ped, it's worthless because you'll have gotten the mirror for Swamp Palace. Or am I thinking of this incorrectly? I'm sorry if I've got it wrong in my head.
Yeah, if book is on ped, then there's no way that book on ped is hard required by logic, because you would have the mirror already and thus would not need the book. So it could not be mirror on ped, but it could be boots on ped, or it could be flute on ped.
Oh yeah, I am wrong.
Yeah, flute could be on tablets. It couldn't yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, flute could be on tablets.
But yeah, that's another if added to the big old pile of it.
Thank you ever so much, chat. Although I don't think I really did want to think of these possible horrors.
If book is on ped, it is worthless if flute is not on the tablets.
So Vortex is about to be checking Catfish, and once Vortex does, Vortex is in the lead.
And we see Vortex with that optimal bush throw right into the activation area for that item.
Yeah. So where does Vortex go now? I mean, there's front of escape. There's back of Thieves Town. There is...
I think he's doing mushroom turning this way.
Oh yes.
Seems a little bit of a strange route to go, but he might have done it. Well, no, he could have saved and quit and taken the same route as 2C. Maybe the time difference between these two routes isn't too great.
2C has done this before. So yeah, it is actually neck and neck.
So yeah, 2C letting the puffs get away a little bit. Has to make sure he's doing hammer strats, which is a little faster
and
riskier.
Vortex safe scumming.
Yeah,
this could be big.
That's something I would have expected from him, just because it's not a lot of extra time, and given that it's a worthless item, he just saved and quit. He has that save, so
2C not picking up that pendant. I know it's very unlikely, but if something's on ped, that's bad for 2C.
Yeah, I feel like 2C feels like he's really in a rush, and he feels bad about that play to go into Ice Palace at that point, because you don't even take the consolation prize. That's risky. It's a little bit risky.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I get that it's 5 seconds. It could mean a huge difference, but I still
Yeah, I
feel
feel
like
like a
you pick it up.
5-second difference is not something that you sweat if you're thinking completely logically. There's some emotion at play in that decision, I feel.
So 2C looks as though he's going into Thieves Town, and Vortex. Is this fake powder first or Thieves
Yeah.
Town?
I feel like you'd want to do. I guess he's doing Thieves Town first because you'd want to do Fake Powder first if you're planning hard on doing both of them because we don't have the mirror.
So it does look as though 2C does have a slight lead on Vortex of Doom, but it is slight. The race is on.
Yeah, did we see? I know we saw Purple Chest from Vortex. Did 2C do it as well?
I don't know.
All right, 2C coming up to the Thieves Town attic, which is going to be our first check of 4 back here that could potentially contain our last 2 items.
But yeah. To clarify, yeah. I'm just trying to think. 2C does not have that pendant from Ice Palace, so
Yeah, 2C is going to
we'll
have
see
to
what
be a little
happens.
bit careful here. It's not too terribly difficult to take 2 hearts of damage here if you're rushing yourself.
Yeah, so if something bad does happen to 2C, this does change it. So 2C about to come up to Maiden's chest and the big chest.
Yeah, I think the one interesting thing, Vortex already has 1 pendant, which 2C does not. And we're still several items away from true go mode. So even if something important does show up here in Thieves Town, which so far it hasn't, only 1 more shot, Vortex is definitely a lot more likely to commit to doing all of Thieves Town in any case. However, the second item is on blind, so both runners will be completing the dungeon. I wonder if we'll see 2C quit again. Probably not, with it being green pendant. That's the consolation prize you probably do want to take, even if it's going to cost you 5 seconds.
Green pendant is a guaranteed item. Is Sahasrala hiding a progressive item again? And there, Blind is sharing with us his wisdom, and 2C facing off against Blind. And that is Blind down, and the green pendant for 2C.
And
that's the mirror.
So that's indirect.
Oh.
It opens up more checks, as well as, crucially, Swamp Palace. And that's pedestal in logic.
Yes, that is ped in logic. Either flute or book on ped. Book in a very extreme case, but still.
Yeah, and so, as much as chat likes to talk about ped seeds, and we like to think about them because they're fun to think about, where I would be going and where I playing this seed is, I'm thinking, okay, we've got mirror checks now and we've got Swamp Palace. Those are the places you're going to check next. You don't really care that it puts ped in logic so much because there's so many checks available now with the mirror. I think even worse than ped at this point would be Mimic Cave.
Yes. So 2C gonna give us the first of the mirror checks, which is K45. And there's nothing there. And Vortex is going to be doing hammer pegs.
Yeah, Vortex making it to this area for the first time with the hammer, having done it initially about 10 minutes into the seed. Didn't have hammer yet, so going to be checking that now. Taking a little less time than 2C is taking here with the purple chest. However, 2C are routing K45 into it, so it's Did we see? We didn't see fake powder, did we?
No,
Vortex?
we didn't see fake powder.
Yeah, I mean, I get, I see skipping it when you get the mirror. You could do it just to be thorough here, and the only way it really bites you not doing it is if the powder shows up later and you have to come back and check it because it's in logic. But skipping it while it's out of logic makes a certain degree of sense. 2C going straight for Swamp Palace. I think this makes a perfect amount of sense. I think we'll probably see Vortex do something similar.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely looks like that from Vortex. So, again, race is on. Just see if
and 2C a little bit ahead in terms of if the item we need is in this dungeon, 2C's got the advantage.
Yes, there's enough game for Vortex to claw back a little bit more. So
yeah, it's closer than it was in TR for sure.
I'm just hoping for a close race at this point. And chat checking the entries. 114.03 was what one of chat has said, and this is more 114.30, so 27 seconds between them. Thank you, chat.
We'll call it half a minute, which is very close.
Yes.
Certainly, I would say within the amount that one could make up with pure execution in Ganon's Tower.
Yes, definitely.
So this is anyone's game, even if 2C does find the item here, which is very exciting.
So yeah, 6 items in Swamp Palace. Nothing coming up so far.
Yeah, we have yet to crack into the real meat. Front is a slow burn, but then we get to left side and then the back of Swamp, which is full of goodies.
Piece of heart and I believe the compass chest in Swamp Palace.
Yep, that's the compass chest. Just a piece of heart in there. We see 2C skipping the back. This is, or not the back, skipping left side. I'm imagining the plan is to go back in for it afterwards.
Yes, I assume that will be the plan.
And especially if you plan on maybe not even finishing the dungeon. Which, I mean, you know you don't have to finish the dungeon, so this is the better play for density, is to go straight to the back here.
So, Vortex doing the same thing, and gets a map out of the waterfall chest, and is going off to face against Argus soon. To clarify, for Vortex, personally, when Vortex finishes Swamp Palace, Ped is possible to be pulled. I'm not saying that Ped is where the item is. I'm just saying we might get to Ped pull. I would assume Vortex would do left side Swamp first.
Yeah, 100% he would. After that, it's you kind of wonder. So you can follow the things you've done and do Ped, or you can do Front of Escape, which has been looming over both of these runners' heads for a long time. And this late in the seed, not having done Front of Escape, it becomes like a really interesting mental game. Because if you commit to it and it is the right answer, you almost don't want it to be, because your opponent could have done that so long ago that you'd prefer to just put all of your cards, continue to put all of your chips on the table. Consolation prize boots from Argus. So that's gonna give us some insurance for Desert Palace. We can now absolutely clear it as long as we can get in.
That's also 2 more checks. I know I'm hyping up Ped, but one's close to Ped, that's Bonkrox, and the other's King's Tomb.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably gonna 2C skipping left side.
Ooh.
It definitely feeling nervous about this. I feel like because that's a little aggressive.
So 2C hasn't done a Gina yet.
Yeah.
I assume they both did the same, but you know.
And I think, and the fact that 2C does have Agina sitting out here, does have Ped now basically orphaned completely, is
Yeah.
like, well, what if the book was here and I could just go into desert? You know, what if this, what if that? Again,
Yeah.
2C doesn't know that the spot he's in isn't that bad, so it's kind of rough to. At this point, especially after you go down Ice Palace, you don't even bother to finish it. You've got a lot on your mind, and to keep your cool and play your game is something that some runners do very well and some of them don't, and it's not a good or bad thing, honestly. But it's definitely feels really aggressive to skip left side there to me.
Yeah, definitely same to me as well. I mean, skipping left side, not getting that pendant from Ice, these could be all the difference.
Yeah, and if it's not the difference, I mean, left side is a pretty big time save here, as we're seeing from Vortex. Vortex still working on it. But,
nothing on Bonkrox.
What's
left?
The blue pendant. Not picking up the blue pendant is a pretty meager time save, I feel. 2C heading over somewhere for some reason.
I'm just trying to think. The only thing I can think of is Graveyard Ledge. That's the only check I can think of right now. If anybody has any other possible checks, let me know.
Well, there is. Well, no, we did back at Thieves Town again.
Yeah.
Mimic Cave.
No. No.
I mean, that's. I mean, like I said, Mimic Cave is even worse than Ped.
I don't want to think about Mimic Cave.
Here we're getting our first checks in left side swamp from Vortex. 10 arrows, and he's going for it. I trust he's been counting. It's
the flute.
Oh. And yep.
Oh, that is big. That is big. Vortex is in go mode. TC's not gonna pick that up again.
Yeah, and this. If Vortex wins off the back of this and this knocks 2C out of the tournament, I wonder how long it's going to be before 2C ever skips left side swamp again.
This is big. I can't speak.
We are not in go mode yet. Or no, we are, because we did get the mirror. Yeah. I thought we were still missing one. I thought we were still missing our win con, but no, it's this seed has wrapped up, and yeah, 2C is going to be clearing up everything else before going back to left side swamp. So this is.
Yeah.
Very close to game, set, and match, unless Vortex decides to really hunt for Tempered Sword or something.
I can't think of anything that any way 2C can win this.
Yeah, the decision to not do left side before going to the boss is one thing. That made a lot of sense, but skipping out on going back in when you know it's 2 items, especially. Is and also the big chest as well, because we got the big key in the back half. So leaving 3 items in swamp is, I think, a little reckless almost. I think that goes a little past aggressive at this point. And you know, hindsight, right? Hindsight makes it seem like a worse play, maybe, but even so, I think that was kind of a yikes.
Yeah, I just, yeah.
And I wonder how much of that was that that glove on Uncle getting in his head and putting together all the possibilities of how quickly you could have gotten some Dark World access, and maybe putting a little bit of weight on that didn't necessarily need to be there.
And there's nothing in front of escape. I mean, there couldn't really be anything apart from book that could kind of help, but we know flute is hard required, and flute is left side swamp. So Vortex just go moding Misery Maya, looking for that big key. Nothing that could possibly help 2C on Sahasrara, just 50 rupees. The only things that could help are that Tempered Sword and that book.
Yeah, it's one of those. Sometimes you get races like this where one person is very behind, one person has a big lead, but you're in one of those situations where, especially in a mode where you've got progressive bows, for instance, like if they find the other bow, then all of a sudden they're back in, and that's always fun. There's not a second flute anywhere. I wonder if 2C's going for it now.
Yeah, it looks.
Yeah, and this is a little uncharacteristic to not like fully last location this at this point, but I mean it's pretty close to a full last location, and it's kind of between this and committing to ped, honestly. But yeah, cutting his losses, he's going back in.
Yeah, I don't possibly see how 2C can win right now. It's going to take a long time for 2C to go to left side swamp. In the meantime, whilst Misery Maya is taking a long time for go mode for Vortex of Doom, 2C will need to do the same thing, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is you know, when you're sort of in that state, you know, you're on match point, your tournament life is on the line, and if you're feeling a little behind, you can see those boots and be like, I've got to make a play here. I'm going to follow those boots and not spend 2 minutes checking left side swamp. And you know, I like to make plays like that because it feels so good when you get them. But it's rough if you're trying to keep if you're in a tournament setting. If there's the higher the stakes are, the more you know, higher the stakes.
But, yeah. So Vortex getting that big key is going to be making his way to the back of Misery Maya. And this is the upper MSU.
Yeah, Metroid Prime. Yeah, this is from Metroid Prime 2. This is the Chica boss fight. Second phase? First phase. No, this is first phase of Chica. And 2C picks up that flute.
Yep. Vortex doing spooky action glitch. And is about to face off against Vitreous now.
Yeah, and this is second phase.
And that's just how powerful the silver arrows are. No sword as of yet. And 2C is about to activate his flute. We still have Desert Palace, by the way, so just, yeah, waiting for that until the GT Big Key guessing game. So, it was put as a question in the chat for people to vote on. Is Desert hard boots locked? Let's find out. Vortex is going in. There's a small key on the torch. Does this mean that the big key is behind the small key? Meanwhile, 2C is opening up Misery Mud.
Big key behind small key.
I mean, yeah, it must be.
Yeah, there's nothing else we can get without the small key at this point. You know, I'm realizing I put a couple hundred points on soft, but now I'm thinking about it. I'm actually not sure what a soft boots lock is in Desert Palace.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either. So, let's just see.
Oh, I think Vortex accidentally jumped down there.
Yes. So, a little bit more time for 2C. So, Vortex should have the big key now. I know Vortex checked 2 checks, and yeah, the big key had to be, so the first check had to be that. And yeah, so off to face off against Lammo. And whilst it wasn't necessary, all the dungeons have been completed by Vortex today. Same for 2C, although 2C did not pick up the Ice Palace Blue Crystal. Chat saying GT routing could make the difference. I don't think it's impossible for 2C to win this. I just think that it would have to be an exceptional difference in routing, and 2C giving a perfect execution here.
Yeah, it would have to be an exceptional difference in routing, for sure. And those are actually relatively rare to see. I mean, the most we'll see is not super likely to be a huge difference.
So, there we go. Vortex of Doom collecting his 7th crystal, defeating Lamola. You know what time it is. It is the GT Ganon Sour Big Key guessing game. Get your votes in chat, 1 to 22, of where you think the GT Big Key will be. Guesses, I meant, not votes. Oh, now I'm just imagining of a game where you vote where every item is, you know, before everybody collects it.
It looks like we... Yeah, I thought for a second 2C's stream was frozen, then I realized he was just checking cutscene chest.
I know many people have gone before me on this, but I'm gonna go for number 8 this time.
Yeah, I actually picked 8 kind of arbitrarily. I like to go for 3, so I actually might change my unofficial official vote to 3.
I see. Well, I think a lot of us will be happy if it's 8. That's for sure. So, Vortex is now entering the Turtle Rock portal. And is dropping down and is about to enter Ganon's Tower. At which point, guessing will be closed. And yeah, so with regards to this, do you think it'll just be Master Sword Silver's Ganon, or do you think there'll be a sword in Ganon's Tower?
At this point, I'm expecting a Master Sword Silver's. You know, another sword would be nice, but you know, if you're putting yourself in the heads of the players at this point, you're preparing yourself for that Master Sword fight. You're not counting on that other sword to show up.
So I'm going to count that as 132.18 for Vortex entering GT. And Vortex going into Hope Room, getting a key, and a piece of heart. So that's 1 and 2 out. Vortex deciding to go right side.
Yeah,
And
shoutouts to Dark Torvus Bog Depths here.
sorry, did I miss somebody here?
No, I'm just shouting out the MSU pack. I'm a big Kenji Yamamoto fan. One of my
Okay.
favorite soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, well, definitely thank you for doing that. I don't know all the names. Number 3 turning up, that is a piece of art. Number 4, 5 rupees. Number 5 is the book. And number 6 is 3 bombs. So the mirror was required. There was no way that either of our runners could have gotten the book. Coming up to number 7, that is the torch. Just 10 arrows. If you want to say 8, Esma.
My 560 points. I put 560 on torch.
Oh no!
But yeah, we're coming up on 8, 9, 10, and 11 here in Stalfos room. As TwoC finds the other big key on the left side of the screen there for Desert Palace. Got bombs, small key, another small key, and the final Stalfos room chest is another piece of heart. So leftward we shall continue.
So, I think we're both out at this point.
Yeah, we are.
Oh!
Tempered sword and firebar room, check number 12.
Yes. That's just safety and peace of mind at this point.
Yeah, we've got Rando room, the Fire Snake room. Ooh, Vortex. With the game knowledge there, knowing you can just barely clip that switch without having to go back into the other room.
Yeah, so... This is firebar room.
The final single chest, if you discount Bob's chest, which I guess you kind of shouldn't.
Yeah, and that's a full heart container. And we're going up to Rando room, which is 14 through to 17.
TwoC finishing Desert Palace, picking up that last crystal on his way up. And there it is, Rando rooms. That's, what was that, 15, 16, 17? 16, yeah, 16.
16, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll check it and you can continue on.
Yeah, so Vortex starting the climb. Kitted about as well as he could hope for. He's got plenty of hearts, 15. He's got the highest mail he can get in this. He's got the highest level shield he can get in this, both level 1. But he's got the silvers and he's got the tempereds. So honestly, not much can stand in his way at this point.
So, yeah, I've checked people's guesses, and I see that Fighting Sayu and Scotty have both got 16. So, well, get your free rando skis for life, and well, me saying it here, I guess. Congratulations. So, TwoC is making the climb. Vortex is in Ganon's tower. Just double checking. Yeah, still got a flight up to Lamo 2. And forgive me, I do not remember what time I said for Vortex entering. So I can't really line that up with 2C's. If 2C goes straight left to Rando room, he will save some time though.
Yeah, it's still going to be a pretty uphill climb. And honestly, I feel like full left is not too commonly seen these days. I know I haven't seen it in a good while.
So, Vortex still climbing, defeating these skeletal wizrobes.
Yeah, so
And brush.
2C going left from the start here. We'll see if it's a mirror from Stalfo's room or if he continues to go full left. Two perfectly valid options. Oh, he's got that mirror out. I think he's gonna, unfortunately, sail away from both the sword and the key. And the thing about this routing that 2C is doing here is it covers the early checks of both branches as efficiently as possible. So it sort of covers you, no matter what the other player does, and it really only comes to bear if it's a later check and your opponent went hard one side first, which is actually what happened here. Vortex, though, finished with the third to last boss of the game.
Yep. So that is Moldorm 2 down. Vortex finding the compass in the chest, in the last chest of the game, and is going to make his way up to face off against Aga 2.
Yeah, you know, getting that compass just to make sure you know where the boss is. It's there, by the way. It's right here. We found it.
I think that would be terrible if it secretly turned out that it was a boss Randomizer with both Aga 2 and Ganon randomized. Vortex getting some hits off Aghanim. I believe that was a 2-3-1.
Yeah, that was your not the theoretical best Aga fight, but definitely the general best in practice. It's best you can generally hope for without getting a little bit lucky.
And here we see Vortex face off against Aga, so considering 2C hasn't even gotten the big key yet, is making his way towards Fireball Room. I can't see a way. I just can't. Without like 5 Ganon falls for Vortex. Well, 3. You know.
Yeah, and this is not a fight that Vortex messes up often. And those dash pokes are the strategy of somebody who's supremely comfortable in this fight, has done it hundreds of thousands of times. Maybe not hundreds of thousands, but definitely thousands.
And yeah, Vortex is just in phase 3 as 2C has gotten the big key and is making the climb.
If Ganon keeps teleporting long enough, 2C might have a chance of getting into the Ganon fight.
Yes. By the way, both runners will... both runners have the same Ganon behavior, so it's not as though Vortex will have loads of teleporting away and 2C might not. 2C will experience exactly the same thing when 2C faces off against Ganon. That is Ganon down. Get your GGs ready in chat for Vortex of Doom.
And that is an official time for Vortex of 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 26 seconds. GG's.
Yep. GG's to Vortex. And we'll see what 2C does now.
And we're offered a pyramid scheme here by the Triforce. Fitting.
I get the joke now. So, 2C seems still. We'll see if this is officially just a forfeit. Whatever the case, I'd say put your GGs in for 2C.
Yeah, I believe in the race room we do have a DNF. So and you know, no shame in that. It's a hard-fought battle. And
Yeah.
you know, all that's left is the formality of actually completing the seed, so
Yeah. And we are here with Vortex of Doom. GG's.
GG. Thank you.
So, what was going through your mind early on? As soon as you got that second glove, when did you make the call to dive into Dark World early?
So that's a play I really like to do. I think like Goomba was the one who first like talked about it, gave me the idea. It's a super efficient route, very good, just coverage. It obviously much slower than waiting till you have like a mirror to combo like Smith Chain and stuff, and also slower than not doing any of it at all. But it kind of covers a lot of bases really early. So I'll do Bottle Vendor, then come back up with Smith, and being able to clear Skull Woods made it very, very awkward. Because it made for a lot more walking than I would have expected. And
not to mention that you had to do that low percent Mothula.
Yeah, which, yeah.
I mean, it went fine. It went fine.
It did. It's both of these races. It was trying to play really safe going to Moth. Like I tried to do Lamp the first time, then realized I really had no idea what I was doing without like killing the Gibdos anyway, and so I just gave it up as a bad job and did what I knew how to do.
Sorry,
go ahead.
You go. I just wanted to say we also have TwoC here. GG's.
Yo, GG Vortex. Well played, dude.
GG TwoC. Yeah, and same to you. I was really, really nervous for this series. You're a phenomenal runner. I've looked up to you basically since I started playing, or not long after, as soon as I knew who you were, basically. So, yeah, just getting to play you was an honor, and like I got lucky twice in a row. Like I got very lucky this seed with my skips. So,
yeah, we've had quite a few races, so always nice racing you, for sure. They're back on the just casual races.
Yeah, it is more fun racing friends when there's no stakes. I have to admit. I was pretty okay with however the series went. I didn't want to go 0-2, and so after yesterday, I was pretty happy. However it went. I know these can go either way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as
These
far as
modes are tough, for sure. Sorry, Esmar, go ahead.
No, as far as the actual race went, it was actually so there was a lot of divergence early on, but the difference wasn't actually made until Swamp Palace, which was really interesting to watch because both of you guys synced up a couple times, really, which was really fun to see. Vortex was a little bit behind going into Turtle Rock, but then afterwards, TwoC, you made the Ice Palace play, which Vortex had made earlier, which brought you guys back in line, and then the pivotal moment was again that decision to skip Left Side Swamp.
I was very, very tempted. I actually thought about doing it first. Like I got that compass, and I was like, it's a pendant. And if I had gotten it first, I definitely would have skipped the boots and been in a terrible position.
Yeah.
But I left myself in a really awkward position with Thieves, having already done Ice. Like I had the green pendant to turn in, I had Ped, and then suddenly when I did Argus, I had boot checks. But and then I had like Ice Rod Cave and Escape, which were like absolutely terrible. Those were easy last locations. Escape wasn't an intended skip. It just sort of like I hadn't done it, and then by the point that I would have made the choice, I think it was like I was like I could do Escape now or I could do Thieves, and I felt like at that point Thieves was better.
You kept kicking the can down the road, and then you hit your exit.
Yeah, it was just interesting to watch that you both, for most of the game, you both completely skipped front of Escape.
Yeah, I actually I skipped it even with like the bombs and the guards in the bomb pack, mostly because I didn't want to embarrass myself trying bomb escape and flailing. But also, like, I got the glove. I hadn't been to Sank yet. I was like, that's a potential key or map between that and back of escape, and I have bombs that I could skip a guard kill or maybe skip Zelda's cell or something. So I made the call when I got the glove to just like definitely not doing it now.
Chat having a question that I was thinking about as well. Were you nervous about skipping the Ice Palace pendant at some point, specifically to 2C?
Yes. Not initially, but then when I found the mirror, I realized, oh, that's that was kind of weird, and I was actually potentially gonna go back in to grab that, but yeah, I don't know. I just went to left side swamp instead at the end. I was even considering going to Mimic Cave. Like, I was that
Mimic Cave was a very scary spot. I was, especially with how, like, I was thinking the whole time about how it would have been pretty easy, like, if you didn't start Uncle, to have hook shot before your mitts, and you, like, go up the mountain before you ever touch VOO, and you have your hammer, and, like, 3-item green pendant back of Thieves seems pretty good. You have your mirror, you go up, and you can just do Mimic Cave. I was going to skip Cold Stare if he didn't have an item, but once he did, I was like, I'll just get the pendant, refill my magic. Because like I was almost positive Ped wasn't a thing, but I mean, I was like, because Ped requires mirror to show up, and in Swamp, that's so many items plus the other mirror checks. But I did consider skipping it. But
yeah, well, chat was considering it the instant you picked up that first pendant. They're like, "Oh, boys, this is a Ped seed now, boys." But I fully agree with you. Like, when you see Swamp as a pendant, that's a lot that has to fall into place for a Ped seed to come to fruition, and it almost did. There were a lot of things that lined up, but then Flute was there in left side, and that sealed it out. But I mean, even so, it was still really close between you two, and that one decision just kind of flipped the script just enough.
What was the order of things you did after leaving left side? Because I was like, part of why I did it was just like I was trying to pick, like, would I do green pendant first, despite not doing it immediately, or would I like do boot checks into Ped, because that was like a couple more checks faster. So I was curious what you did.
Yeah, I did like Gina after that, and then I was actually considering escape, because like I'm like, if you actually do Uncle Start and you do the bomb escape, you could get the Flute, and then if boots are required, then I'm good. I got the boots from a really tricky spot. But instead, I just went and did the boot checks into a really annoying graveyard ledge. I don't know. It was like really slow, bro.
That makes sense.
To be fair, like left side swamp at that point, I think it's probably the best thing for me to do, especially when you get the boots. It's like not that bad.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I was sort of thinking, that like, well, as long as boots are required, I think I could be okay wherever Flute is. Like, if boots aren't required, I was medium likely to be hosed wherever Flute was, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Unless it was in Swamp. So I was like, let's just get these two out of the way, because I had enough annoying checks all over the place that I figured. It's just,
on top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a possibility that you do this seed without the hookshot, I think. Well, the boots were required, but like you could get all these items without the hookshot, because you can even get the Flute at that point from left side swamp. But I mean, it's kind of tricky, of course, to go to Zora. Not to go to Zora, sorry.
Yeah, wouldn't?
Yeah, I was.
Would you
I was
have
thinking
to
of going
hover across the bridge on the mountain? Because the
the hammer was
over there. Yeah, you'd have to hover the bridge in order to get there, I think.
Oh yeah, whoops. You're right about that.
No, it's still technically possible.
It is. Yeah, it is possible. There was Bugnet was available. But yeah, I was thinking about hammerless ice. Like I had no idea what I was going to do after Zora, and he very kindly dropped the hook shot to make the choice easy. But I was like hammerless ice already looked like moderately appealing because I had the cane, I'd had flippers, fire rod for quite a while, and I with the multiple trips to the dark world already, like pod looked really bad. I was pretty worried about if it was that kind of seed where you had your flippers, fire source, you had to and mitts, and you had to choose whether the seed wanted you to go to pod or ice. And I was kind of leaning ice just because of the route I'd taken up to that point. But hookshot made it academic.
Well, so this is this again the end of 2C's tournament life. Well fought. Top 32 is nothing to sneeze at. And Vortex, you go on to fight, I believe, GFE in the next round.
Yeah, I do. I'm excited for that too. Like I got to play 2C this round, GFE next. Shiva the first. Like I know all of those guys pretty well. It's cool to play buddies, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was hoping for a potential rematch with GFE since he was in my group, and we were on 1-1 in the group. So we had unsettled business there. But yeah, best of luck, Vortex, and the rest of the tourney.
Thanks so much, and GG's to you again. Pleasure facing you as always.
Yeah, speaking of the rest of the tourney, we have matches going on quite a bit today. Actually, we've got a 3:10 Eastern time on SpeedGaming 5 that should be starting shortly, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. 4:10 on SpeedGaming 2, 4:40 on SpeedGaming, and 6:10 on SpeedGaming 4, as well as a 6:40 on SpeedGaming 2. So all over all the SpeedGaming channels, give them all a follow. We've got a lot more coming your way. And if you got anything else going on, now's the time.
Well, no, I have nothing else on that front. Just stay tuned. Loads more rando action for all of you. As always, just thank you so much to our runners for running. This was very interesting, and it's amazing to see both of your plays. And yeah, just so thank you for being here. And yeah, everything on that. 2C and Vortex of Doom. Thank you to our tracker Novendotch, and thank you to for coming alongside me, Esma. And yeah, thank you for SpeedGaming for hosting this. And make sure to follow SpeedGaming 1 to 5, a link to pass randomizer 1 to 6.
Yeah, and with that, Esmar and Goron signing off.